The cost of living as a digital nomad depends a lot on where you are. In this video, I'm going to break down my cost of living as a digital nomad right here in Mexico. I have spent nearly 6 months of the year in this beautiful country, so I have a good idea of what it costs to live here. I talk a lot about social media and branding right here on this channel. Travel is a newer topic for me, but as a digital nomad, it's something I look forward to sharing with you. If these topics interest you, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post next. Now, on to the video. Today I'm in Cabo, and the question comes from Danny, who asks,
Hey there, Phil. I see you traveling all over the place, and I was just wondering, what does it cost to be able to go on these trips? And to follow up, what makes it worth to visit all these amazing places?
That is a great question, Danny. I appreciate you asking it, and I appreciate you also following along my adventures on Instagram. As a digital nomad, I don't stay in one place very long. In fact, in the last 3 years, I've lived in Mexico, which we're talking about today, Brazil, Colombia, Peru, England, Spain, France, Morocco, South Africa, Sweden, and that's just the last 3 years. Technically, I have a house which makes me less qualified as a digital nomad, but I've only been to this house 4 or 5 times, philpallen.house. In this house, I have a closet where I lock all my belongings, but the really important stuff travels with me in just a checked piece of luggage or my backpack. Today, we're talking about the cost of living, specifically as a digital nomad here in Mexico, and I'm going to break it into 6 categories: accommodation, business, health, transportation, food, and fun. If you're wondering about what job I have that enables me to travel and work all around the world, I am a brand strategist, which means I help people and companies position, build, and promote their brands. People don't really care where I am in the world as long as I hit my deadlines. So as long as I keep my clients happy, I can be anywhere I want, as long as there's a good internet connection. Let's start with accommodation, and this is going to be your biggest expense. It's going to depend a lot on where you are. I've stayed in Mexico City, Playa del Carmen, Cancun, Merida, Puerto Vallarta, and right now I'm in Cabo. I was supposed to be in San Miguel de Allende. However, it's the strictest district right now on self-quarantining, and they're not allowing tourists to be there, only residents. So that's why I'm in Cabo. My personal budget for accommodation anywhere I travel, I try to keep it between $1,000 and $1,200, which is significantly less than how much I used to spend on rent living in Los Angeles. Now know that you don't have to spend that much. I spend a little bit more to be central, to have some good amenities, sometimes like a pool. If you look hard, you could probably find something for $400, $500, maybe $600. I am not a hostel person, so I avoid any type of accommodation where there's gonna be a lot of people. I know from traveling all around the world that the price really varies based on location. Right now we're talking about Mexico, but for example, it's very hard to find something in a place like Stockholm, Sweden for less than $2,000. Here in Mexico, you can find a great place for $400, $500. I tend to spend a little bit more, and I'll show you what my apartment looks like. I absolutely love this apartment. It normally rents for about $110 per night, and I book most of my accommodations on Airbnb, and what I normally try to do is stay in places for longer than a week, and ideally longer than a month, because many hosts will give you a discount the longer you stay. Because I'll spend about 6 weeks here, and it's during the pandemic, so a lot of people aren't traveling, I was able to get this for half of the list price. So we've talked about accommodation, now let's talk about business. In this category, I'm including internet, cell phone, co-working, or office space. In my case, and in many cases when I book on Airbnb, the internet is obviously included in the accommodation fees. But let me tell you, if I had to choose one of the biggest challenges as a digital nomad that I have faced, it's getting good internet in places all around the world. My advice is to always check and actually message the host before you book a place to confirm the internet speed. I even recommend asking them for a screenshot from a website like Speed Test so you know exactly what you're getting into. Just because you tell them that internet is important to you doesn't mean they'll necessarily understand it, right? Not everyone thinks or understands the necessity as a digital nomad to be able to connect. So I always recommend checking this before you click the book button. Here in Cabo, we had some challenges within the first few days, but our host was amazing. She helped us upgrade to fiber optic, and now our internet speed is amazing. And I kind of never want to leave. When it comes to your cell phone, people do this a little bit differently. You can either pick up a local SIM card wherever you are for about $10 or $20, or if you're like me and based in the US, I use T-Mobile. I absolutely love T-Mobile because they give you international data without a daily surcharge. So I basically just land in a brand new country and my phone works automatically. Your speeds are going to be less than if you were home in the US, except for Canada and Mexico. But even though the speeds are less, it's still worth it and it saves a lot on hassle. If you're traveling solo, you might want to think about joining a co-working space if there's one near you and it's convenient. I've worked from co-working spaces like WeWork, from places like Paris, London, LA, New York, Bogota, and all kinds of places around the world. Sometimes it's nice to have familiarity, fast internet connection, and people around you working to motivate you. Co-working in South America or Latin America can be anywhere from $150 to $200, $250 a month. In other cities that are bigger and more expensive, like London and Paris and New York, it can be anywhere from $400, $500, $600 a month. We've talked about business, now let's talk about health. One of the reasons I try to stay in one place for at least a month or two is because of gyms. They operate often by having memberships at minimum 1 month. And this is a good indicator that I can get into a bit more of a routine and allow for a few days to get settled or to get packed for my next destination. The more I travel, the more workouts I miss. This is at least what I have found. So I try to choose my accommodation where also I know that I have access to a gym or something to get my workouts in. Not that I'm the beaming example of fitness, by the way. Here in Mexico, you can pay anywhere from $10, $20, $30 a month, right up to significantly more if you're looking for more one-on-one personal training. Now let's talk about transportation, and I don't have a lot to contribute to this topic other than to say that I use Uber a lot. In fact, I don't even have my driver's license, so I take Uber anytime I need to get somewhere that I can't walk. By the way, Uber is very expensive in some countries like the Netherlands, Japan, or Finland. Luckily, Mexico is not one of those countries. Now, you're not going to find Uber in every single city in this country, but the main ones that you're thinking of traveling to, I'm pretty sure they're going to have it. I checked, and this month I haven't spent even close to $50 for the month in Uber, and I would estimate in months where I'm traveling more by Uber, it might be $100 max. Now, let's talk about food, and this is going to depend a lot on your style. Since I'm in Cabo, which is not really a hotspot for digital nomads, I am enjoying the comforts of home, access to things like Walmart and Costco. I'm doing a lot more cooking at home and buying in bulk, and that is different from, for example, when I'm staying in Mexico City and have close access to restaurants and street food. One of the best parts about being in Mexico, or if you're in a city, is street food. Tacos straight from the street. Honestly, I think a lot of times food is better from the street than it is from a restaurant. You can get a taco for as low as 10, 15, 20 pesos, which is about $1 or less. I spend about maybe $300 a month on food, sometimes a little more because I like to drink wine. The final category is fun, and this I've not spent a lot of money on lately because given that we're all self-quarantining, there's not a lot to do. Hikes, cooking classes, tours, there are all kinds of amazing things that you can do in this country. And also party. Specific to Mexico, the cost isn't always significantly lower than you might be used to in places like the US. Particularly in places where Americans go to vacation, the prices are close to how they are at home. In fact, some places like Cabo or Tulum actually have ATMs in US dollars, which I find really annoying. That being said, you want to make sure you get to visit at least a handful of cities while you're here, because really, they're all different and amazing. So let's tally it up. Accommodation, business, health, transportation, food, and fun. So here's roughly the total for me per month. Now I want to hear from you. If you're a digital nomad, tell us a little bit about you, maybe in a sentence or two, and where are you thinking of going next? Is it Mexico? And if you want more from me, I will share some videos that I think you'll find interesting next. And if you enjoyed this video, I would super appreciate a thumbs up. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate it. And those videos I said I would share, those are coming up next.